All right, Periscope audience, I want to welcome everybody who has decided to join on tonight. I'm very excited about the opportunity to share with you and to just interact with you on Periscope. This is a very exciting new technology that I think is very beneficial, very exciting in a lot of different ways. Not only can we live stream information, but we can interact with each other. So for those of you that are new to Periscope, by just simply tapping the screen, you'll share hearts and likes. So if there's something that I say that you like, what's going on, Minister Tolbert? Glad to see you. And as you can see on your screen, you can share comments on there as well. If there's a question that you like to ask or something that you like to engage or interact, by all means do so. This forum is meant to be kind of laid back and informal. So I definitely want to be informal on tonight. We'll give a few moments to allow a few others that may arrive. I see people joining in. And if you could also, on the app, if you could share with your friends and your audience, tell them to join in. Share with them that we're just hanging out tonight and we're just going to discuss some information. This is going to be the beginning of a series of a few different scopes that we'll have, and we'll discuss different things. I'll have different guests on, different people. It may not always be just informational or motivational. Sometimes it may be funny. I have some hilarious friends that I may even have join us from time to time and just sit in and discuss a topic and just go from there. So I'm excited about everybody being here. Tonight, I just want to talk very briefly about the power of value. It's just something that I've been thinking about over a period of time, how we look at ourselves and how people view us. And oftentimes we get caught up in how people define us and how they view us. And sometimes that sends us on a path of depression, or sometimes it sends us on a path where we really don't view ourselves the proper way. So I definitely want to chime in. Before we get started, just for a few moments, if you could just type on the screen where you're from, just so we can kind of have a roll call to see people from all over the country who may have joined in and want to share with us. Baltimore in the house. Oh, Bmore. I got two brother-in-laws that live in Bmore. I love the harbor. I love the crab cakes. Oh, I'm a foodie. I love to have it. We got Minnesota in the house. Grateful to have all of you all from all over the country who are chiming in. It's great. It's great just to be able to interact with people with like minds. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about value. We got Fort Mill, South Carolina in the house, New York City in the house, all over the place. I want to talk a little bit about value. I want to talk about the exercise bike approach sometimes. I'll start it out with that. And what I've learned, this concept, what I like to call the exercise bike approach, a lot of us are trying to reach our destiny. We're trying to reach our goal. We're trying to, on a daily basis, do something that adds value to our life. But a lot of times we're on the exercise bike. And the interesting thing about the exercise bike is you can get a lot of exercise from the exercise bike, but in reality, you're not really going anywhere. You're just pedaling in one place, doing a whole lot of motion, exerting a whole lot of energy. And many would argue, yeah, you do lose some calories, but one thing that you know for sure, unlike traditional biking, you're just going in one place. So many of us have the exercise bike approach to where in life we're exerting a great deal of energy. We're pedaling, and it seems like every day is a lot of effort. We go home, we're tired. We're just, oh my goodness, I seem like I've worked so hard to try to reach my goal, but you're really not accomplishing anything. You're kind of at a standstill. So what I want to really impart to you is to get off the exercise bike, get into some things that you really can progress and move forward. I don't care if progress is gradual, if it's just a little bit at a time, or if it's, a lot, big chunks. Get off the exercise bike and really find things that are purposeful for you to really move forward. One thing that I learned in life was all activity is not progress. Sometimes we do a lot of activity and we think that we're moving forward, but just because we're busy. But you can be busy and burned out and going nowhere. Trust me, I've tried it, I've been there, and I've done that. So I like to impart to you, just Find something that you can do every single day that will gain purpose and momentum. I shared with a few other people on last week. I just completed my book. Well, it's been a while since I've completed my book, but it should be out within the next couple weeks. And the thing that I really took away from that I was very excited about was I kept procrastinating over and over and over, year after year. God had given me so many things to write down and to chronicle and put in a book form, but I had procrastinated. I don't really have a good way to say it. I procrastinated, I waited, and I didn't get it done. So when God really impressed on my heart to start writing it, I dedicated and I purposed in my mind, I said, every single day, I'm going to dedicate a period of time to write this book. I'm going to dedicate an hour every day, whether I have to wake up early in the morning or I have to stay up late at night. I'm going to write something every day. And I did that for the span of about 8-9 months, and I was able to complete the book. And some days were easier than others. Some days it just flowed. Other days I stared at the screen. But what I found was, because I dedicated that specific time for that goal, I was able to accomplish it and be able to mark that off the list. Why? Because I purposely set out and designated a specific amount of time to do it, and I did it. Some of you have dreams, you have visions, you have great things that God has imparted into you, but it's dying. It's just been laying there dormant. It's been sitting there, and you felt like, man, I don't have enough value. Possibly I'm not the greatest singer. I'm not the greatest speaker. I'm not the greatest preacher. I'm not the greatest this or that. But trust me, you don't have to be the greatest. There's a lot of people who would love to see and hear or experience what you have to offer. God never bursts things in us for it just to sit and lie dormant. I said this one time before, God never gives a gift without a purpose or an assignment attached to the gift. When God gives you a gift, he's given you a purpose and an assignment attached to it. Your goal is figuring out, okay, God, what am I supposed to do with this gift? So when God gives it to you, and furthermore, God never gives a vision without provision. So if you have this great vision that God has given you, but you're wondering, how am I going to fund it? How am I going to pay for it? How am I going to get it off the ground? If it was really given by God, God never gives vision without provision, because actually provision, the Latin word pro, means for. So literally provision means for vision. So if you have a vision that you're trying to achieve, you're trying to attain, there is some value in it that God has placed in you. And when he gives you that vision, when he births it in your heart, he's going to give you an opportunity to perform it. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but I want to talk a little bit about value like I promised that I would on tonight. One thing I've learned, sometimes we don't really value ourselves. And this is one thing that I learned about myself. I'm not necessarily preaching to you. I'm talking to myself. I've learned that we have to learn how to entertain ourselves. And what I mean by that, sometimes we get in the most trouble when we are not content with ourselves, when we haven't learned how to entertain ourselves or be happy with ourselves. When we're not happy with ourselves and we haven't learned how to entertain ourselves, we typically entertain other forces. We allow other people to step in and try to validate us and try to define us and try to describe or define how great we are. But when you learn how to entertain yourself and you learn the value of yourself, you really don't need the validation of others. I love the company of others. I tell people all the time, it's interesting because I have kind of two parts to me. I'm an extrovert because I love meeting people. I love hearing people. I love interacting with people. But I'm also the kind of person I can close the door and be shut off for 8 hours in the studio writing music or in my library reading and studying because I've learned how to just entertain myself and to be grateful and know what God has placed in me. So I want to drop a couple things before I let you go. Often we seek attention from others. One thing that I learned is sometimes you have to figure out where you are in life. Sometimes location will determine kind of your proximity for success. And what I mean by that, I'll qualify that statement. Sometimes location does not determine value, but location affects value. For about 15 years, I've been a real estate professional, a realtor by profession. And sometimes I've learned with different builders that I've worked with, they can have the same exact floor plan in one location and it's significantly more than if they have it in another neighborhood, because sometimes success will affect, or location will affect your value. Another example I'd give of that, some of you love thrift store shopping. Talk back to me if you like to go to the thrift store and you like to find values and you like to find name brand stuff on the low, for cheap. I know I do. I'm not even gonna lie. Sometimes I go to the Goodwill, or here we have Value Village, or certain other ones. Somebody say yes. We find these thrift stores, and a lot of us, some of you are into vintage shopping, to where you find these great vintage finds in the thrift store or at a yard sale or a garage sale, where people have let something great of value go at a very cheap price. Well, I want to use that analogy with you. Sometimes we entertain people that do not necessarily know our true value. And because we are in their location, in their proximity, in their direct circle of influence, sometimes we let them buy us for cheap. And sometimes we don't realize that you're really worth more than what they're wanting to let on to believe that you are valued. Sometimes, you allow people to devalue you just by being in their company. What I would make it tantamount to is sometimes, if I took a Brooks Brothers suit at the Brooks Brothers store, it may be $1,000, $1,500 for that Brooks Brothers suit. But if I take it to the thrift store, even though it's a Brooks Brothers suit, most people would not want to pay $1,000 for it. Now, the quality of what the suit is hasn't diminished at all. Sometimes at the thrift store, you can find new items. The value and the quality of that item has not diminished, but the location of the product has determined a new value. So that same $1,000 suit that is sold in Brooks Brothers, if I see it in Goodwill, I may be only willing to pay $25, $30 for it. Even though it's the same fabric, the same material, has the same makeup, but yet the location has determined how I perceive its worth. I want to talk to you today. Some of you are in some locations, in some places where it's determining your value, to where people are diminishing you. They're looking down upon you. They're not really giving you what you're worth. And it's all because of the circle of influence that you have around you. I want to challenge you. If you're the smartest one in your group, get out of that group. If you're the most intelligent, the most talented person in your sphere of influence, in your circle, get out of that circle. Because trust me, I will tell you, you will not grow. You will not go to the next level. You will not be challenged if you are the smartest one in your circle. You should always find a way to get around people that challenge you, people that make you greater. Everybody needs a mentor. I'm personally scared of people that don't have a mentor. I'm scared of pastors that don't have pastors. I'm scared of CEOs that don't have other successful CEOs that they look up to and bounce ideas off of. Even the president of the United States of America, arguably one of the most powerful individuals in the entire world, has a joint chief of staffs that advises the president on what to do. Ultimately, he'll make the final decision, but he has advisors, people that advise him. Surround yourself around people that will advise you and let you know and challenge you to be great. I've accomplished many things in my life just because I've had people around me that challenged me. When they saw I wasn't living up to my full potential, they challenged me to move forward and to be better and to do better and to really take that leap of faith. People that are just yes people that will always pat you on the back and, oh, you're doing great, but they never challenge you. You probably don't want to be around all those people. They're great and all that is fine and dandy, but they really don't challenge you to get to the next level. I really want to see you obtain your goal and to really get the value that you want to have in life. All right, lastly, before I let you go, and if you're enjoying this, just tap a little bit, give me a few hearts, let me know that you're still out there, let me know that you're enjoying yourself and what you're hearing is great. All right, great, I see a few hearts. I don't want this to be all lecture. I want you to interact, ask questions. I definitely see Minister Talbert has said a few things and a few others have said some things, so I'm grateful for that. Before I close, I want to find it here in my notes really quickly. Sometimes what I've found is we look at the fact that we're not excelling in a particular situation and we think that we're not going to excel in any situation. And that's not the case. Sometimes you're just not built for the situation that you've placed yourself in. And what I mean by saying that is a cruise ship was never meant to fit in a pond. All right, I'll say that one more time. A cruise ship was never meant to fit in a pond. All right, so if a cruise ship finds itself in a pond, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the pond. It doesn't mean it's anything wrong with the ship. It just means that they don't belong together. It doesn't take away the value of the pond, nor does it take away the value of the ship, but the ship can't navigate in a pond. Some of you have been trying to navigate in waters that you were never designed for. You were designed to be a cruise ship, but yet you're navigating in waters that cannot hold you. I want you to expand your thinking on tonight. I want you to expand how you view life, how you view your purpose, how you view your value, and stop letting people devalue. I'm going to talk to some of the business people out there that possibly have a business, you're entrepreneurs, and you've been looking to be one-stop shop for everyone. It's very hard to be a be-all for everybody. Trust me, Walmart tries to do it, but that's one of the anomalies. That's the exception to the rule. You can't be everything to everybody. And if you're good at what you do, don't always devalue yourself and do it for free. Amen. Let somebody say amen. Just because you're benevolent, just because you like to do charity, just because you like to see everybody experience what you have, you can't do it for free. All right. I had a wealthy businessman tell me one time, the best way to help the poor is not become one of them. I know that sounds very insensitive, but in business, sometimes you can't give away everything for free. Stop devaluing yourself. Value yourself competitively. Value yourself at a place where you can feel respectable with what you offer. And some people are just not going to be able to afford you. That's the thing that I've learned. Everybody's not going to be able to afford you, and that's fine. They can go and get something else, but they get what they pay for. So know your value, know your worth, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in business, whether it's in ministry. Know that I'm fearfully and I'm wonderfully made. Know that greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. Know that if God before me, who can be against me? Know that you have power and authority and dominion. When God created Adam, he gave him power, authority, and dominion. Whatever Adam named, that it was named. There's power in your tongue. The Bible says the power of life and death is in the power of your tongue. I dare you to just begin to speak some things on tonight. Begin to say some things into the atmosphere and begin to speak those things that be not as though they were. You have power, you have value, and I expect you to achieve success in the next coming days and few weeks. So I'm excited. I'm going to let you go now. I appreciate you spending some time with me. I just wanted to hold you for about 20 minutes or so.